Hello everyone, my name is Joseph and I am Mr. Musette. If you are new here, I am a digital illustrator from Romania, Transylvania, and in my free time I create traditional illustrations and art-related videos here on YouTube. Also, if you enjoy my content, don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell under the video to be notified every time I upload a new video. As I promised last week, I am back with a new MerMay video. As I already mentioned, I create a single illustration inspired from every 5 prompts from the MerMay official prompt list. This illustration is inspired by the following prompts: deity, crustacean, wreckage, rat, and ancestors. It was suggested in one of my past videos to speak a little bit about my process from thinking out the illustration and to the final step of the execution. Most of the time the steps are the same for every single illustration, no matter if it's traditional or digital. At the beginning I have an idea, a brief if it's a client work, or a prompt list in this case. Most of us artists have a strong visual imagination and we create instantly an image about the final work in our head, or at least a vague idea how should look the final result. My first step is always to document myself more about the theme I want to approach. Look for inspiration, see how other artists approach the theme, because you never know if all those ideas take you to something else or helps you to define you more the details of your final piece. Also, I search for references because that is very important to get everything right. In this case, an example is that you might know how a lobster looks like, but is more that possible that you might don't know the anatomy and details of a lobster, how many limbs have, how the shell is built, and all those details. Regarding the composition of the illustration, for some time I tried to pay attention to create the illustrations somehow more dynamic too. When you have at least a character for the illustration, it's more simpler to give dynamic to the piece, with the help of the character's body movement and the elements you will have around it. Also, I try every time to somehow build a story around the character too. The good resource for inspiration and documentation for an illustration is the Google Images and Pinterest, which most of the artists are already using. And Pinterest is great because you can save images on categories by creating boards. For me, this process can take from a few minutes to even 1 or 2 hours, depending how inspired I feel about the theme. Sometimes I also create a small thumbnail sketch for ideas or for composition, but most of the time I have a concrete idea in my head about the piece and I start directly to put the lines on the paper with a mechanical pencil. In the process, some of the elements might change depending how pleased I am with the results. After I am happy with the composition and all the elements, I move on to the next step, which is the line art, where I use ink-based fine liners. Now I will speak a little bit about the illustration, as mostly for every illustration for this MerMay series, I use the prompts for the composition and to tell the story behind it. I decided to create this lobster mermaid character, which is like a sea goddess. Also, having the deity and ancestors prompts, I got inspired a little bit by the universal zodiac as well, because we know that the Cancer zodiac is represented most of the time as crustaceans, most exactly as a crab or lobster. and by adding some moon symbols to the character's jewelry, the moon having a strong connection with the Cancer sign in astrology. All these elements gave to the character that goddess characteristics. Also in the story, she might be the goddess or the ancestor of all the crustaceans, and she is angry on people who catch them for food, and she destroys their ship. For the colors, I wanted to use orange, red and brown shades for the character, and I really like how it looks, that blue complementary color for the water. As art materials, I used my Hannah square sketchbook, Staedtler pigment liners which are waterproof, and the Prima marketing tropical set watercolors, for which I already created a first impression video. You can check it out that for more detailed opinion about the watercolors on my channel. Since then I also added an olive green, a grey and a white full pan of White Nights watercolors because I missed these from the beginning from the set. White watercolors I use very rarely, only for pastel colors, because I like to leave the white of the paper when is necessary, or I use at the end a white gel pen. I know that I am behind a little bit with the MerMay prompt list, but I will complete it in the upcoming weeks, so look forward for that. I also thinking to create for one of the illustration a paper doll mermaid, as I did in the past for my fairy series. Let me know if you would be interested in that. Until I upload the next video, you can find me on my social media accounts which are linked in the description of the video. Also, if you would like to support my art, check out my Patreon or my shop as well. Hope you enjoyed the video and somehow all this information will help you in the process of your creation. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section and I will try to answer them. Thank you for watching and do not forget, life is a song, illustrate it.